All right. Let's do more of the Homeric Rhapsody thing. So we are currently up to the end, or the end of what we know as book 5, and we would be moving into book 6 now. Let's see how that goes. And so the fighting raged on, with Diomedes lashing out in all directions, having been twice blessed by the gray-eyed goddess Athena, and taking his rage to whoever stepped near, whether Trojan or Achaean. He came close to cutting the limbs from many an Achaean ally, those from Argos or sandy Pylos or rocky Ithaca, not even seeing at whom he slashed. He caused many a distress to so many of those soldiers. And thus came the shining Lord Apollo from the sky. He rocketed down from Olympus, stepping lightly onto the ground, with a plan in mind to stop the fighting, for it had grown too fierce even for his like. Already 2 of his siblings had been taken out of commission, how he knew not, but both fighting and championing for his cause. Apollo sought out Athena, who had been along the battlefield, stepping forth lightly and viewing all the carnage done in her honor. Apollo said to her, "O gray-eyed one, we have done much this day, but let us stop the fighting for now, so that these Argives and Trojans might win a breathing space. I say that we should allow 2 champions, Hector perhaps, and some other from the Argive force, to fight in a one-on-one duel. Or, if such not be the case, then some other thing must be done to cause the fighting to flag. Perhaps that duel will happen later." And hearing this, Hector's brother Helenus, a seer who is wise with flights of birds and with reading entrails and all other prophecies, he heard this and heard Athena's assent to do so later. But for now he sought out his brother Hector, and he said to him, "Hector, I have just heard the gods speaking, and they plan to flag the fighting and to cause a lull in the combat. But first you must pray. Send our honored mother, have her take her most valuable robe or drapery up to the statue of Athena on the Acropolis of Troy. Have her sacrifice to her and make promises that we will give many bulls and oxen whenever we have the stores returned to us." Hector heard this, and he said, I will do this thing. I'll return to the city. First, allow me to bring inspiration to my men and assign captains in my stead, and I will return to the city and ask our honored mother to do this." And so Hector ranged throughout the Trojans and Dardans and close fighting Lycians, and he said to them all words of encouragement. And so Hector had prepared to return to that city and make final farewells as well, though he knew this not at the time. All right, a weird one, because I realized halfway through that I totally skipped a chapter there, or not, one of the books of the Iliad. I confused the part with, um, it's either Apollo or Ares. I think it's Ares that comes down and convinces Athena to cause a duel between champions, which is in book, I want to say book 7. Well, it's definitely not book 6. And in book 6, Hector's supposed to go back to the city, and a bunch of stuff will ensue, which you'll hear maybe next time. But halfway through my version, where Apollo, because I figured Ares was like, in recovery, he'd just been damaged by Diomedes, so I gave it to Apollo, and that's probably why I had to give it to Apollo, because I accidentally moved up the scene by an entire book's length. So Hector's going back to the city, but some kind of weird like conversation between Apollo and Athena early, that they are then prophesying that later there will be a duel between champions, and Helenus hears this and tells Hector to do his thing. So I kind of like tried to get it back on track, but it was not pretty the way that I did it. There's a lot of cool stuff that happens in book 6, though. I'm excited to keep going with it, and they can't all be winners. I'm trying my best with remembering the events, which I obviously remember a lot of stuff from the story, but when you're trying to do it at such a micro scale, you realize how difficult it really is. But it's a lot of fun. Again, the reason that we're doing this is in service of the game that I'm working on. I want to try and kind of like, I don't know, catch the ring of Homer's like poetry. So we're doing this ancient style of oral composition or oral poetry, which is it's called oral-formulaic composition, which is kind of how people expect that Homer really wrote the Iliad at the time. There was no writing at the time that Homer lived, so he would sort of assemble a story out of pieces that he remembered, and put them together with whatever powers of language he could come up with to fit within the gaps, and tell it as well as he could, which is what I'm trying to do, obviously in a far inferior way, but it takes practice, I guess. So yeah, it's been fun. I even aside from the fact that it's like related to my game project, I actually just think it's a really exciting thing to do. You can sort of feel the generations of thousands of years of history behind what we're doing here. It's cool to be a part of that. So yeah, let's keep going with it and see how it plays out.